Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kenny Lamons here again. Channel's All Things Medicare, where Ethan and I just try to share with you guys our personal journey of building a Medicare business, serving the senior market. We'll give you guys tips, tricks, strategies, and just tell you our experiences. So today's video is probably geared more towards brand new agents. And I just want to share with you my personal experience in a captive agency. So in our world, as an independent agent that I am now, it's more about shopping your IMO and retaining freedom and all of that type of stuff is all great. Looking for high comp is what a lot of people tell you to do, and that's fine. But for a lot of you guys, if you're shopping where you want, you're brand new to insurance, and you're thinking, where should I start out where I'm going to get the most support? I'm going to give you guys my personal experience, so it's unbiased. Just here's what happened starting out brand new at a captive organization. And maybe this will give you guys a little bit that are on the fence whether you should consider that option or not. First of all, what is a captive agency? People actually have different definitions, but to me it's simple. It's somewhere where all of your contracts have to be in one place, and that you are LOA, which means your commissions are assigned to that agency, do not come directly to you. So all of your contracts, whether that be one company or 20, are locked down with one agency, and all of the commissions and business goes directly to the agency, and they pay you, the agency. Okay, so a captive agency, that was my first experience in the insurance world. I ran into it I was looking for a sales position, my early 20s, and I ran into it on a job board. I think it was Indeed or something like that. And that was in 2014, so about 6 years ago. We had multiple companies. This was a captive agency out of Dallas, so they didn't have everyone, but they would pick 4 or 5 med subs, 2 or 3 final expense, 2 or 3 annuities, and have us contract with those companies for however they selected those, ease of doing business, good contracts they had. I really don't know. But so we were able to sell multiple products to the senior market with actually multiple companies. So that was positive. It wasn't like we had one product to sell. We were LOA. So that just means when I signed up, if I made a sale, commission went to the agency, and then based on my agreement with them, they sent me something. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I thought that was the only way you could do it. And they had a 2-year vesting schedule. So there's a lot worse than that out there. If you stuck around for 2 years and left on good terms, they would pay your agreed upon renewals after a 2-year vesting period. So in a nutshell, that's what I was in. So let me tell you the pros real quick. They had discounted leads. That was a bit of hype because they were direct mail and they sold them for $15 a piece. But let's be honest, I mean, they didn't have there wasn't enough to go around. They tried to feed what they did have to the very best agents, which it took me time to reach that level with them. So most of the time we were calling non-responder lists, is what they called them. It's just a cold call list, a list of names, okay? So discounted leads, that can be an advantage when you're young, broke, or not young, but broke, strapped, trying to make your start in this business. Free or discounted leads can mean a lot, but do your investigation. So, but that was still a pro. Office space, I wasn't really able to work from my apartment very effectively at that time. So I had phones, internet phones, a desk, a coffee, a break room, a printer. For what's that worth, I was a pro at that time. Training, that was the biggest thing. I think I've improved upon the way that I sell since I've left that opportunity several years ago. However, it laid a great foundation for a sales market selling, or for a senior market sales process. Camaraderie was huge. So as an independent agent, if you don't know folks in the industry, you might get a group me, you might get a conference call, and that's excellent once you know what you're doing. But if you're brand new to the industry, you've got a bunch of dumb questions. That camaraderie, actually physically being in the office with other new agents at a captive organization, is excellent. It's great for your spirits, great encouragement. You're not the only one in the room to ask a dumb question. And then accountability. You know, a captive agency, the one that I worked at in the Dallas area, you reported your numbers every Friday. You had 2 sales meetings every week. They had minimum requirements. Of course, most people didn't hit those requirements. There weren't actually any repercussions, but it set a standard, and that's good for a lot of new agents. You need a little bit of accountability. So those are some pros. I'm there. I don't have nothing but negative to say about that experience. Those are some great things right there. What about the negatives? Now in hindsight, you don't own your own book. Thankfully, I was with at least some relatively honest situation, because I do still receive small renewals based on my agreement because I was there for 2 years. But I don't own that book of business. Truth is, and the renewals are very minimal, guys, which leads me to the next negative. Very low comp relative to what you can ultimately achieve as an completely independent agent. But at the end of the day, 100% of zero is still zero. And at this organization, I didn't know anything. So it was low comp, so long term that wasn't going to work for me, but at least I had a sales process and I was making sales at that time. The comp was low though. Limited growth potential. As far as management and really expanding your own marketing or brand or recruiting and leading other people and making any kind of override, it was really set up top heavy, and I think almost every captive agency is. To really be a successful manager, agency owner at a captive agency, the level of number of recruits you've got to do is just astronomical before you get any return on that investment. You never own those recruits. You never own the book of business that they write or the renewals. And ultimately, there was just, for me, what I considered really low long-term growth potential. And then it was like almost every ex-captive agent I've ever talked to. The organization I was at was you were kept in the dark. You were very sheltered. They didn't want you to ask too many questions about leads. They didn't want you to ask about other companies and products that you hear, that clients have in their house, because they kept things nice and tight. They wanted everybody a little bit in the dark and just stick to the process that they put in front of you. Which again can go back to good or bad. Long term, if you're a thinker and a forward thinker, you're not going to be okay with that. But short term, it makes you put the blinders on and forget the rest and just do that sales process. So what's the verdict? I would never go back to a captive agency now that I'm where I'm at as an independent. However, if I restarted tomorrow, I believe I would have went to a similar captive agency and been perfect, especially if I knew what I knew now. I just wouldn't have stayed as long. I wouldn't have even worried about the vesting. I wouldn't have let that be a reason for me to stick around and slow my growth. So I loved the training. I loved the camaraderie. I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys. It helped me lay a foundation and get started and have some accountability. But I would have went to work for 6 months to 12 months, and then I would have said, sayonara. I appreciate you guys. You've got something for me. I got something from you, but it's time for me to move on to the next level. That's not for everyone. If you're a super big self-starter and you can take what you read on Google and what you see on YouTube and somehow perfectly apply it when you're brand new to an industry, go start independent. But I'll take a little bit lower comp for that camaraderie, experience, and training. It's all about laying a foundation. This is people don't understand insurance game is more of a marathon than a sprint. So I think I stayed too long, but my personal opinion is it's a good place to start for some people. And for me, it was. I'm really thankful for that experience in a lot of ways. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you have any specific questions about my past or my experience, be happy to share. Reach out directly. I put my email in the description of every video. If you like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. And also, I enjoy comments. So if it's just a quick little question, drop it in the comments. I'll answer it right there. Stay safe, guys.